If there's any faction that's going to get itself wrapped up in the whole scheme of missing money, hidden vaults, and gang warfare, it's the Harpers. And if any faction in this book needs a rewrite of their quests, it's the Harpers. In case you didn't know, the Harpers is a loosely connected network of Dudley do-right adventurers that range all over Faerun. At every turn, they're trying to help those in trouble, look out for the little guy, and take down evildoers. In short, they're exactly the kind of group to sort out Waterdeep's problems. So it's a little disappointing that their current questline boils down to just a handful of skill checks and information gathering. Let's rework the Harper's questline so that it becomes an overlay for the entire Waterdeep Dragon Heist module. Like the other factions that we've done, we'll interweave the main plot elements of the campaign while giving the whole thing a unique Harper's faction experience. If you're running this, I suggest choosing Manshoon as the campaign's primary villain, since he and the Zhentarim provide a strong narrative balance to the Harpers. I mean, really, the Zhentarim are just an evil version of the Harpers. To kick things off, the Harpers approach good-aligned characters after they reach 2nd level. They're directed to talk to Mert at the Lightsinger Theater, where he fills them in on his goal of bringing peace to the streets of Waterdeep, which have recently broke out in gang warfare. The violence between the Xanathar Guild and the Zhentarim has always been troublesome, but recently it's escalated, and it's time for the Harpers to step in, and Mert needs all the help that he can get. The character's first mission for the Harpers is to figure out what started all this mess between the Zhentarim and Xanathar. This mission is all about uncovering backstory. There's a lot going on in this adventure, and we want to fill players in as effectively as possible. To this end, Mert tasks the characters with a little spy work. There's going to be a rendezvous with a member of the Harpers who infiltrated the Xanathar Guild a while back, Thorvin Twinbeard. Thorvin works as Xanathar's chief engineer and trapsmith, but he reports back to the Harpers on a regular basis. This time around, he's scheduled maintenance on a deadly trap down in the sewers, and he's going to use that as his cover for this meeting. Thorvin won't meet with just anyone though, so Mert gives the characters a secret passphrase to prove that they are Harper's agents, something like, "The swan swims at dawn." Then he gives them directions to the meeting place and sends them on their way. When the characters arrive at the designated location in the sewers, they find Thorvin elbow deep in a mechanical contraption and covered in grease up to his shoulders. He looks at them derisively and asks them, what do they think they're doing here? If the characters give him the passphrase, his entire demeanor changes as he realizes that he's around his own people and not Xanathar agents. On the other hand, if the characters don't give him the right passphrase, he whistles loudly and 4 Xanathar thugs come in to beat up the characters. But let's assume that the characters do the correct thing here. When they ask Thorvin about what escalated the gang violence in Waterdeep, he fills them in on the broad strokes of Daggalt Neverember's embezzlement, the hidden vault, and the mysterious stone that was stolen from Xanathar, presumably by Zhentarim agents. Once the characters are ready to leave, they're met by those 4 Xanathar thugs that I mentioned earlier. They've been eavesdropping and know that Thorvin is a traitor. The bandits move in to attack with the intention of knocking everybody out and taking them to Xanathar. Thankfully, Thorvin's trap is fully operational, so the characters can use that in this encounter to even the odds just a little bit. Assuming the characters kill the thugs, they can report all their information back to Mert for some renown and a reward of 20 gold pieces each. Mert congratulates them on a job well done and says that he'll be in touch soon. Just so you know, you can get this guide and all of our other guides and adventures over on Patreon for just as little as $1. That's right, every single thing that we've published over the past 5 years for just $1. Forget 500,000 dragons, this is the steal of the century, so head on over to the Patreon page and check it out. If you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. Just click the subscribe button down here so that you don't miss any future Lunch Break Heroes videos. With that being said, let's see what the next Harper quest is going to be. Once the characters reach level 3, Mert's had some time to mull over the information they brought him from Thorvin. Now that he knows what kicked off the gang war, he wants to get information on that stone that the Zhentarim allegedly stole, and why Xanathar was so attached to it. After all, if a big bad crime boss is willing to start a war in the streets over a stone, there must be something special about it. Mert has set up a meeting in Castle Waterdeep with the captain of the City Watch, Eustace Staggett. Captain Staggett has agreed to provide the Harpers an interview with some of the recently captured Zhentarim agents. He's expecting the characters when they arrive and leads them down into the castle dungeon to a cell that contains a couple of dirty, scrawny prisoners. With a DC 12 persuasion check and promises of some additional rations, the prisoners are happy to cooperate, but they don't know anything about a stone, only that another group of Zhentarim appeared and started rocking the boat. They point you toward another member of the group, Schemo Weirdbottle, in the trades ward. They say he's well connected, and if anybody knows about that new group or special stone, it's Schemo. As you might know, Schemo is a double agent within the Zhentarim. He's been selling out to Manchun and House Growland, so he definitely knows what's up. However, he's not going to talk. Not without a DC 25 persuasion or intimidation check. Captain Staggett can attest as much and tells the characters that they may have to resort to less than legal means to get the information that they need. He also tells them not to let him know what they plan and to keep the blood off the streets. In addition to making that crazy persuasion or intimidation check, the characters can get information about the new Zhentarim cell by breaking into Schemo's apartment above the shop. On his desk, there's a letter signed by Urstel Floxen that instructs Schemo to keep an eye out for the stone and that the big man will reward anybody who brings it to the villa. There's another letter underneath this one that is signed by Istrid Horn. It instructs Schemo to stay away from a man named Ursel, who seems to be the front man for a new Zhentarim cell. It goes on to say that he's extremely dangerous and seems to be the cause of the violence from the Xanathar Guild, and that he hangs out in the nearby North Ward. The letter even includes a handy little sketch so that the characters, Schemo, know just who to look out for. Feel free to drop any other clues that you need, but this ought to be enough for the characters to go on. They can head over to the North Ward to begin their search for Urstel Floxen now. Lucky for them, the search doesn't take long at all. They catch sight of the guy entering Troll Skull Alley, and he appears to be following a rock gnome. That's Dalakar, by the way. If the characters start getting close to Urstel, or Dalakar gets close to Troll Skull Manor, go ahead and kick things into high gear. Suddenly, there's a blinding flash of light and a loud explosion. Someone, somewhere, has thrown a fireball and blown darn near everything up. This is the Fireball event from Chapter 3, which kicks off the hunt for the Stone of Galore. From here, go ahead and run the rest of Chapter 3 just like it's written. Once the characters catch up with the Nimblewright in Chapter 4 and obtain its map, you've got two choices. Either run the encounter chain as written, or stick the Stone of Galore in the villain's lair and run a heist. My suggestion is, of course, to run a heist. If you're using Manchun as the villain, like I suggested, this one's a deadly doozy. Manchun is holding the Stone of Galore in his sanctum, that pocket dimension that he lives in, which can only be reached by a teleportation circle at the top of Kolat Towers. In order to pull off this heist, Mert calls in a favor. When the characters meet with him to discuss this mission, Mert is accompanied by Romalia Haventree and another woman in a mask and a hood who looks like she'd rather eat a slug than be where she's at. The masked woman is Esvel Rosnar, aka the Black Viper. She's a master thief, but unfortunately for her, she's not as sneaky as she thought. Romalia knows all about Esvel's secret identity and nightly escapades, and has blackmailed her to help get the Stone of Galore out of Kolat Towers. Teaming up with the Black Viper, the characters can surveil Kolat Towers and get its general layout. Unfortunately, the force field surrounding the tower means that they can't get inside to really case the joint, so they'll have to go in pretty much blind and ready for anything. If your players are having trouble figuring out how to get past the force field, Esvel offers a few suggestions, such as Misty Step, Dimension Door, or Dispel Magic, and points out that there's plenty of magic shops around the city that sell scrolls. Once inside the force field, she offers to scale the walls and peek inside the windows. If the characters are keen to follow her, they can make the climb to and enter into the towers through one of the upper floors. Otherwise, Esvel returns after a few minutes of scouting and lets the characters know what she sees through the windows. Alternatively, they can make their way in through the front door. Go ahead and run the Kolat Towers encounters as written, pretty much. So long as the characters aren't running amok or setting off alarms, the Zhentarim agents in areas K2 and K7 are more than happy to tell the characters about the interesting stone that their boss has recently acquired and the teleportation circle at the top of the outer tower. Once the characters get into Manchun's sanctum, we're going to break away from the adventure's text just a little bit. As written, the characters basically get jumped the moment they arrive. But this is a heist, so let's tone it down a bit and give the characters a chance. When the characters arrive, Kavja is napping at her post. She can be seen through the glass wall of area E1 and the window of E3 beyond. A little line of drool runs down her chin. As long as the characters don't make any huge noises, they can work on opening the door to Area E2. Manshoon keeps the Stone of Galore in Area E9, the library. It's in a case that's magically sealed, which can be opened only by the hand of Manshoon or his simulacrum, or by the knock spell. If nobody has the knock spell prepared, which, surprise surprise, they probably won't, I recommend cutting off the simulacrum's hand and using that. As long as the characters can avoid triggering an alarm, they should be able to get in and out with minimal bloodshed. If they leave any survivors in their wake, the alarm is triggered 10 minutes after they leave the sanctum. Returning to Mert with the Stone of Galore nets the characters 100 gold each and some more renown. He takes the stone and says that he's going to study it for a while and will soon call on the adventurers for their next task. And if she survived the heist, Esvel tells Romalia that they're even now and that the Black Viper won't be catering to the Harpers anymore. Now that the Stone of Galore is in the hands of the good guys, it's time to go get the money and relieve Xanathar and the Zhentarim of their reason for warring in the streets. Mert gathers the characters up one last time and tells them everything he knows about the stone. He's learned that it's really an aboleth, that it's sentient, and that it affects the minds and memories of those who attune to it. He then asks one of the characters to do the honors. Once they do, the Stone of Galore reveals its secrets. The hidden vault is located underneath a mausoleum in the City of the Dead, or wherever you choose to put it. It then sends the characters searching for the keys to the vault. Once those keys are gathered, go ahead and run the Vault of Dragons entirely as written, complete with the bad guys showing up to ambush you at the very end. Mert, 2 swashbucklers, and Raynar Neverember arrive as backup. Once all is said and done, Mert is delighted. He works with the characters to turn the cache of dragons over to Laeral Silverhand and the city of Waterdeep. The characters are rewarded with 10,000 gold pieces and the gratitude of the Open Lord. Now, if you've made changes to the Harpers faction, or if you've run this guide already, let me know what you did and how it went in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you, and be sure to click the subscribe button right down there.